But they even showed on the news where this guy that did this shooting online, he had ordered a vest. So one of the other, it was on Good Morning America, they tried to do it. They just went online like an anonymous person. They ordered it, and then it came in.
Paid $74, so I think.
That's right.
With a vest, that's right.
And they got it. So you know, here you are within 2 days. You could have that thought. Because things are so rapid, you can get it done, and next thing you know, you're
out shooting somebody.
Out shooting somebody. It was terrible about that little girl and that little boy in
oh man, these children, the crocodile, alligator.
Yeah,
can you imagine that?
One
week it's
ape.
That's right. And then the next week it's alligator. I mean, eating up children.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got this is the last 10 minutes. Okay. You just got to pull me through on this one.
All right.
Okay, so
we're going right.
Thank you and welcome back to the final segment of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. EKSanford from Tennessee State University, and the topic is the impact of mass communications on personal and human development. And Doctor, let's during this last 8 or 10 minutes that we have here, give you an opportunity to give us some information that we might not have called for, but information that you think that we need at this particular time over the next 8 or 10 minutes.
Okay, as I stated at the outset, Dr. Gerard Linsky did his entire career looking at the development of human societies. So for the listening viewer, I would like us to try for a moment, a sentence or two, and say that we have advanced, and if you can just think from hunting and gathering societies to the agrarian, to a horticultural, to the beginning of an industrial society, to a high industrial society. And from that point, we moved all the way out into a telecommunication society, and then a service society, and now with this last movement that we're in right now is telecommunication, mass communication. And we can look at it at pre-industrial, post-industrial societies. We can look at it at this particular point in time in development of human society as postmodernism. We don't even know where we're going from this point on. I mean, we're at such a high level of telecommunication, and this is the type of society. So the question then becomes, as we have advanced from an earlier time period to now, how has that impacted us? So I want us to try to understand that as a listening audience. If you can just go back to an agricultural age, you can probably imagine very quickly that you may have had a husband and wife. Because they lived in agriculture, they may have had a lot of children in order to tend the crop, and everyone would have been very cohesive as far as the family institution is concerned. And as we moved into an industrial age, then people started to go into school, finishing school, got married later, had less children. Technology started to come in, you got married later, had less children. So you can see the impact of just human development from an earlier period to another period. So here we are now as we moved into a telecommunication society with the advancement of technology and everything. It really impact how we act and behave on a daily basis. Sometimes it's cognitive development that we've talked about early on the show. It is taking away our opportunity to want to just to sit down and to learn for the sake of learning. Why? Because you can use your computer to access the information so quickly.
It's already there.
It's already there. Now, there's some positive things. I don't want to view an audience to think that I'm suggesting that technology is not great. I mean, it has helped us advance in science. It's saved lives. We can intelligence is such a high level. So there are many positive things that we can think about. But in sociology, we talk about cultural lag. That means that we have a tendency within this so rapidly developing society, technologically speaking, that we're living in, that we are lagging behind some of the rules and regulations and etiquette that may go along with the technological advance.
That's why you call it cultural lag?
Cultural lag. We are lagging behind that. Now, one good example that can get at it is, like, there weren't any laws about driving while talking on the cell phone or driving while texting.
Okay.
So legislatures, the institution of the law, then had to give some thought to that problem. You had an increased amount of people on the highway being distracted and having accidents. So as a result of that, legislature had to come in and implement some laws. So that's just to show us that it's impacted our behaviors in such a negative way. Now, on the other side of that, when we think about deviant behavior going against the rules and regulations of society, how has Facebook, how has technology influenced certain people throughout the world, and even presently, that's come from a very small environment with a good family living, good schools, good churches, but they are surfing the web online, and how someone that they are following out there will influence their thinking to the point that they may go out and act in a very deviant way. You could even think about bullying. You might say, well, no one even touched the person, but there they are on cyberspace, and someone is with their pictures, they're making comments about them, others are making suggestions, and then in their personalities, their thinking, their cognitive thinking process is telling them that that's bad, and they're feeling bullied and low self-esteem to the point that they may commit suicide.
That's right. That's exactly it. That's a good point.
So this is the whole issue of how is this impacting us in this way. So we have to realize that there are many positives. The positives may outnumber the negatives, but the negatives are certainly there.
They're still there.
They're still there. Now, even as a professor, I have seen a transition over the last cohorts of students entering. Their mind, they can't just cut the phones off. They can't let their cognitive thinking be pleased with that notion that they have learned a thought or an idea, and then they feel that they need to just touch the phone and it tells them, and that's it. But we still live in this highly technological society that we're living in. We still have to understand some of the values of higher education and know what they are, and we still have to personally develop in a certain way. And so it's good to know how to do it, but you have to also develop yourself in that way as well.
But now, what do we do with those who don't have access to this kind of technology that we use, which people who are essentially cut off technologically from the rest of society? I mean, what is to be their plight?
Well, okay, here we are now looking at human development. I think there's some negatives because they cannot be connected in a global society as we are right now. So as a result of that, they cannot have access to that type of technology to try to advance. But there are some positives with that. They probably have interpersonal skills that feel very strong. They probably have family relationships that are still very strong. They can be happy with just sitting down talking within a group context, maybe studying in a group context. I think if we did a cross comparison culturally at Cuba, you would probably find the same students that are the same age that are able to get together to study their lessons after class with an interest versus putting things in their ear and going off on Facebook. And not having a conflict with that while they're supposed to be learning and developing. So I think there's some positive. Let me give another global type of perspective, and I really give a lot of credit to Jobs that came up with the whole idea in this telecommunication society. For 40 years in many countries they had dictators. And in 40 years those dictators were able to control the behaviors of people. Now here's a positive. With telecommunication and with the ability to communicate, a revolution took place where they were able to overthrow that particular dictator. So that's the positive thing about it. But then there are the other parts about it that with Al-Qaeda, if we want to start talking about that, they can go on and start communicating with innocent people who might have followed the law, and as a result of this telecommunication, be influenced by them and then go out and do something that is horrific, as we've just experienced what's happening in Orlando, and it's going to happen again and again unless we can have some controls. The reason I say a cultural lag, because we might have to see when people are developing certain unique behaviors, they might have to be followed with a little bit more strategic planning. And then some red flags or something in the technology has to earmark that person if they want to go out and get something to go out and do something that is terrible against another person. But we're lagging behind that right now.
Culturally, we are.
Yes, we're lagging behind. And we can go out and order something and get it in 2 or 3 days.
But we don't know what to do with it.
We don't know what to do with it. That's right. And the person on the other end is just wanting to make the sale in that same time. So they don't see it as a person might be getting to go out and act out in a very horrific, deviant way to kill a lot of people.
Yeah, so Dr. Sanford, let me thank you. We've got about a minute here for bringing just a whole series of information in reference to, from a sociological point of view. I think that we need that point of view, because a lot of folks don't think in terms of the impact that some of these things. I know personally, I never thought that much of, I guess I knew the impact, but I never thought of trying to pull it all together. And I think what you've done, you've been able to pull it all together, not only for us on this show, but for some of our viewers, because we often have people make comments in reference to some of the things that you've given us in reference to. They say that they've watched you on this show and et cetera. And I want to thank you for that, because I think that you've made a great contribution to what we've been able to do here. And so let me thank you, and let me encourage our audience to tune again.